All right, cool. In this section, we're going to talk about batch processing. This is going to be two parts. This part's about resizing files. The next part is going to be about exporting different configurations of layers from within the same file, saved as layer comps. So here we're going to talk about resizing files. So in batch processing, you got to do essentially there's two parts to it. The first part is telling Photoshop what to do. And then the second part is telling Photoshop to do that to a lot of files. So let's jump into Photoshop. You're going to have to go to Window and open up the Actions palette. That's this right here. So by default, you'll see Photoshop has a bunch of actions. We're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new one. We're going to call it Resize to 100 pixels by 100 pixels. And as you can see, once I create a new action, it starts recording right away. I'm going to go ahead and open up one of my files here. Just drop it in. I'm going to resize it, 72 pixels per inch. Resize it to 100. Yeah, this looks good. I'm going to hit Save for Web. Command-Alt-Shift-S is the hotkey. JPEG looks fine to me. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it under this folder that I've made called Exports, 100 pixel by 100 pixels. I'm going to keep the original file name. Save. All right, great. So now that I've got the actions that I want recorded, I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to close this file but not save over it. Speaking of which, when you're batch processing files, things can go wrong. Create a backup of your files. Backup of your files. Select all of these. I'm going to just duplicate them into backup. All right. Okay. So as you can see, I've got my bitmap diffuse JPEG dimension 100 by 100 right here. 100 by 100. Looks good. So now part 2. Tell Photoshop to do it to all of these files. You're going to go to File, Automate, Batch. Default actions, resize to 100 by 100. Our source is going to be a folder. Basically this looks about right, all of the files inside this folder. I do not want the stuff inside of backup to be processed or inside of this to be processed. That would just end up in a recursive, like, infinite loop. So I'm just going to make sure that include all subfolders is not checked. Okay, source. Destination. I'm going to set destination to a folder. This is correct. I'm going to set it to exports 100 by 100, where I want files to save into. Choose. Now here I'm going to override action save as command. We did use save for web, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit override here. Yeah. And I'm going to want, you can sort of compose your document name here. So I'm just going to go with the original name. So document name plus the extension in lowercase. Document name, extension. We don't need this. None. Okay, this is looking fine. So I'm going to hit OK and let the process start. I suspect we selected the wrong source folder because I only saw one image process. Let's take a look. That is right. File, automate, batch. Indeed, I did. I have selected here my exports folder, which is silly. What I want is batch resize example as the source folder. Whoops. Destination folder, let's double check that. Yeah, would be the exports folder. Okay, let's hit OK. Now let it run. There, and now we can see Photoshop just crunching through all of those 24 files. So while this runs, oh, it's done. So if we look now in the exports 100 by 100 folder, we can now see that everything has been resized to the same size, 100 by 100, and that everything, including the former bitmaps, are now JPEGs. And that's it for using for recording actions and applying them using File Automate Batch.